Hello and welcome. Welcome everyone to Light, It's Only Light. I am Vero Bero. I'm the owner of Sacred Crystals in Tyrone Square. It's a crystal metaphysical shop. And this is my dear friend, Christina Welsh. Welcome.
Hey, Vero. Thank you. Yeah. Hi. I am your star child, psychic, intuitive friend.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us today. Thanks.
Yes. So today we were thinking of doing something a little different. We always get to talking before the camera's rolling, and it's like, why aren't we recording this? We should totally be recording this. So we were talking, and we decided we're going to start with a card pull. So starting with a card pull that's like sets the intention for this little, if you want to call it a podcast, whatever you want to call it. So let's start by pulling a card. So Christina, what deck do you have for us to start with?
Today, to begin our beautiful conversation, is our Earth Warriors deck by Alana Fairchild.
Love her.
And her illustrator, if you would, Vero, describe for our beautiful people out there who that might be as well. But
okay,
gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, the back of this is even gorgeous too. Like, look at that. Oh my gosh. So Earth Warriors Oracle by Alana Fairchild, empowering the sacred guardians and inspired visions. And edited by, thanks to.
Also in the back, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see.
Anyway.
Yeah, the Blue Angel Publishing really puts out some really great stuff. Oh, okay, about the artist. I got it. Isabel Brina. Ooh. Mariposa Galactica. So galactic butterfly. We've got a space butterfly. So Isabel Brina is an artist from California, and she's lived in Latin America, Hawaii, inspired by cultural unity, connection to the earth and heavens. This is my favorite. Healing on the planet and our awakening into a new paradigm where love is living, manifested vibration. That's what I'm talking about.
Heck yeah.
Love is living, manifested vibration.
I think she just read our card.
Yeah. This is amazing. This little wonderful hippie artist woman is like, she's my spirit animal. Sounds good. Alana Fairchild, wonderful channeling of this, but I'm gonna be loving this art. Like, it looks very inspired by maybe the Shipibo as well. The Shipibo people, I see a lot of like touches of it. Not necessarily full on going to it, but touches of it in the art, which I love.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
did you pull a card?
Yeah. Card. I'm excited. Thank you for honoring all that is, and peace in heaven on earth for all. That's what I'm shooting for. Peace in heaven on earth. Like, that's what we are. So okay, like we're little conduits, so let's be it. So you are.
So it is. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ooh,
she's
I
cute.
like
this is very feminine too. I mean, this is pretty divine feminine energy flowing in this card. And this is card number 10. And I believe it is Kaitaki.
Ooh.
Katiaki. I'm going to find out, because I believe in the book it describes better the pronunciation. And this soul is a guardian of, and it will also describe better the pronunciation, the Papatuanuku. So it's the guardian of the Papatuanuku.
Oh.
Number 10.
This is an amazing card. I just love the beauty of this. The kaleidoscope of all that is going on with the colors and it's like energy coming from this woman meditating. I love it.
Looks like pretty powerful stuff, and I believe that it is. So I'll share with you what the author would like for you to know regarding this beautiful image and this divine being. It notes for us to search within for the ways that we can express guardianship of the divine feminine, which is something that we have planned to bring you today with discussion regarding divine femininity, sacred sexuality, and things that surround those types of amazingness.
Yeah.
So we'll keep going here. Let's see. It's noted that we would look for our relationship with Mother Earth as sacred, empowering, and healing. That we are destined to become more spiritually intimate with her, sharing in her creative potency and wisdom, because she's got this endless supply of information, wisdom, resources available to us at any time if we're provided for. It's really a lot of times being clear of what you really want and what you really need. Kind of moving aside the things that don't really necessarily fill the well, and getting to the points that do most satisfy the whole, the soul and the heart's desire and yearning. Mm. So sometimes we just need to, like, kind of just break through some of the things that we think are so important that we're attached to and holding on to, but don't really ultimately serve our highest good at the end, or did, but no longer do at the current time. Mm-hmm. And that's change and evolution, and that's divine feminine ways. It's the cycle. It's that divine cycle mm-hmm. that we get to experience with the sun rising and setting every day.
And it's almost as though the sun is rising right out of her crown in this card.
Here it also notes for us to lean into her, our Earth Mother, and trust in her support, even as you serve her by courageously voicing truth. She is your great ally, friend, and healer. And as you dedicate yourself to her, she dedicates herself to you. Mm. Yeah, very powerful. I think a lot of it has to do with trust, Vero.
Yeah. Well, in the divine feminine, in the sacred divine feminine, that is a big theme as well. Trust.
Yeah.
We're trusting in ourselves as women, trusting in our relationships with each other to create a sacred relationship that with other women that is empowering. And I feel like that's a great message for women is to empower each other. Like last weekend, I was involved in a thing called Ways We Witch, mm-hmm. which was a whole bunch of women. There were men as well, but a whole bunch of women coming together and sharing knowledge with each other and anybody who wanted to join. I think you can still actually get all of that. There were like 33 different speakers who all came together, and it was this beautiful, powerful, feminine energy. Even with the few masculine speakers, mm-hmm. it was really an honoring of the divine feminine. And what I see in this, in what we were talking about trust and creating relationships, is I see her vulnerability, and that's also, that vulnerability is also part of that divine feminine, that being able to be vulnerable with a partner, to be vulnerable with the other women in your life, mm-hmm. And actually open up. You notice in the divine masculine, there's a little bit of a closed offness. There's a little bit of of the warrior, mm-hmm. a sort of protective shield. Yeah. Whereas with the divine feminine, there is a vulnerability. And I think that is really shining through on this as well. What do you think,
I
Christina?
totally agree. She's kind of laid out with her crotch wide open in a crisscross, applesauce position, and she's naked to the world. And she's the earth mother. I mean, she's a mother, she's a fertile being, so just beautiful. And I think really honoring that and bringing to light even the natural, the natural divine feminine ways that rest in masculinity as well, so that the warrior, shielded, even yourself, your partner, people out in the world, strangers in life, that we get to melt the hearts and open up all of the to enable all the beings to know divine feminine energy, no matter if you're masculine and identify as a male. It helps you if you can discover your divine feminine energy side of yourself and connect with that energy, because just as we know that male folks have divine feminine energy, we've got a little divine masculine energy in us too.
Absolutely.
So don't attach or identify too strongly with divine masculine energy, and lean into, kind of like what the card was saying, your divine feminine energy, especially a lot of the masculine, more male identified projections or behaviors and stuff.
Well, that actually leads us to I think a great topic, which is the idea of growing up in the world we're in right now, especially as a young goddess,
Mm-hmm.
a young female in this world that we're in right now. So there's a lot of things that, I mean, going all the way back to childhood,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of I want to say the word trope, but there's a lot of ideas that are, and it seems like right now there's even more, there's such a flow of information with technology and such.
Oh, yeah.
And social media. There's such a flow of information going into these young people that it's really causing identity beyond the gender identity that's going on right now. There's that has always gone on, but there's beyond that gender identity expansion. There's just so many forces upon young kids that are sort of changing the way they're growing up, and it's changing daily. So one example is, the social media is causing so much just kids to question themselves because they don't feel good enough. That's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they're through into the teenage years, there's coming to terms with exactly who they are through puberty and such, and they're growing up with all these different influences.
Yeah.
And I'd like to take it back to something much more natural, and just the family relationship of, and take out the social media. It's impossible right now, but it does so affect young girls and their spirits growing up, who they're becoming.
Yeah. The perception of oneself and how we identify, or how we will translate that into the world, especially if it relates to identifying sexually or with an intimate way, whether it be ourselves intimately or with a partner, but it kind of translates that way. And I think it's because we've had it hasn't been, I don't think we've been fully honest with ourselves. I don't think we've been truthful.
Mhm.
I think we turn a lot of eyes to what really is happening as far as sexuality and how it's perceived and how it's understood and how it's not taught. Like
Yeah.
they give us the parts and they tell it what it tells us. They tell us, they being like our academic, and it's, look, my parents didn't communicate with me. I learned through my public school system the parts of my anatomy. Like for a long time, I didn't know I had 3 holes down there. I had no clue there was a urinary hole, a vaginal opening, and a poop hole. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but nobody told me my anatomy, my parts like that. I had 2 eyes and 2 ears, but nobody told me about the rest of the good stuff.
So the part you can't see.
I was literally, you got mirrors down there. You're like, wait a minute, there's another hole. It's crazy. These are simple things, very simple things, but they're really underestimated things too,
Yeah.
And,
Well,
yeah.
and with teenagers going into puberty, I remember there was when Phoenix came of age, even we did a little ceremony. We had a monarch. A monarch and there's a group out in California that does a sacred monarch that is like a retreat, and they're really amazing. If you have a teenager, that's something to check out, sacred monarch. But a monarch is basically a coming of age ceremony celebrating
Womanhood.
a womanhood. Yeah, celebrating a woman coming into her womanhood. Celebrating wearing red, wearing the red dress,
little red dot maybe.
Drumming with the red drum, like, because it's like a goddess coming into herself, where it's celebrated, and it's not something dirty. It's not something that you want to hide. It's like, yes, honor. You are now a maiden. You are a young goddess. You are divine, and this is your body.
Your Earth Mother.
Yeah.
Your Earth Mother. You are Mary, Mother of God. How do you think that came about? Female energy. We birth God. That's how it goes. Okay, we birth God.
Well, it is magic. Birth is magic. That's something I've always thought. I mean, that soul, that life seed. It's funny. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend, and there's a little bit of a go James Gunn, woohoo. There's a little bit of a touch on that what is that spark that creates life, that creates invention, that creates when mothers give birth, that baby comes out with its own soul, with its own touch of magic. You can't deny that there's magic there. That is an absolute real thing. That's a miracle. And
we are miracles. We're walking miracles.
Just the fact that we are the way we process our information, that we can learn and grow and invent and develop, that does make us magical miracles.
We really are, have infinite power and source of infinite resources, whether it's thoughts that we need to generate some kind of new invention to better our life, but that's who we are. That's it. I think that the divine female energy is that sweet, sweet little spark, that little catalyst, so yeah.
And what is divine feminine energy, though? Like it goes beyond like the goddess figure. There is a wildness to divine feminine energy. There is
stormy. It's kind of stormy sometimes.
Yeah, actually, Tony Robbins talks about that. Sometimes in relationships, one of the reasons a relationship will fail is that a woman is a storm, and she's looking for a man who is an oak tree. The oak tree can take the storm. The oak tree doesn't move when there's a storm. It is rooted to the ground. You'd have to really be a serious Cat 6 hurricane to, totally uproot that tree. So women are going to storm, and that's and it's not a bad thing. It's just that there's female energy is just it's constantly creating. So it's constantly this volatile,
It's
like
spiral,
moving
spinning,
thing, right?
Yeah.
And masculine energy, that divine masculine, is that almost stoic. It's like that tree that I'm making like a
little phallic.
A little phallic, sorry. But okay, yeah. So the masculine energy is that storm, is that oak tree that can survive the storm, that the storm doesn't even bother. He's like, come on, storm. I got you.
Yeah, it's the brace
And
against the
that
wind.
that is why a lot of relationships fail, is that women will feel comfortable and get into that that feminine energy that just kind of, and men sometimes, I don't know if it's the way in which we're brought up today, or getting away from that sort of tribal feel, and sometimes women don't feel like they can storm, and then that also will like, because if it's solid and solid, there's no connection. So the woman storming is actually like enveloping that oak tree. And sometimes in relationships, men back off. They're not the oak tree, and then that's another time the relationship fails. I get that totally from Tony Robbins' experience, but so I'm quoting him, just give credit where credit is due. But yeah, I found it to be true even in my own experiences.
Yeah. I guess it's really about how far we identify with either of those roles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How deeply we identify with being the tree, or how deeply we identify with being the storm. And so if we can find like a sweet little balance, then I think that's where maybe we get to help each other out a little bit better and understand each other a little bit better, because you get to have maybe a different perspective too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've found with me, when I've been caught in my storm, or caught in a place where maybe it was very leaning in it's counterproductive, really, when you are in such an inflated way emotionally sometimes, and I feel that way.
I see what you're saying, but I'm going to say that the storm is not, like, it's easy to say storm and think dark and cloudy and negative. I don't think the storm is negative at all. I think the storm is just the energy. It doesn't have to be the dark cloud.
Yeah.
So like that sort of like, and you ever notice how women tend to be able to do 20 different things at one time?
Multitasking is our thing. Hey, the magic octopus. We talked about it.
Yeah, the magic octopus.
Yeah.
She has a great story about the magic octopus, by the way. Go ahead. Tell me.
I won't be able to, but it's about a magic octopus. A little story that I wrote, a little poem I wrote, and the magic octopus has 8 legs, so you get to fulfill so many roles, or multitask, do so many things at the same time. So Mommy the magic octopus. Yeah. I didn't want to go too deep into it, where people were bored with my story.
Right. Oh, no, I don't think it's boring at all. That's a fun story. But it's true. Women tend to be able to hold their attention in so many different ways, and the divine masculine is really solidly set on one direction. And that's why sometimes we clash, because there's a misunderstanding that it's okay for women to go in all directions, and that they're still fully present with all the directions. And it's okay for men to want directed focus sometimes. Like, when you're in a in-depth conversation with a partner, say, it's important to have that direct focus because that's where their focus is, as a woman man thing. Now, when we get into homosexual relationships, like two women, two men, then we've got a whole different energy. But it's still there's still aspects of both divine masculine and divine feminine in both partners. So you still have the same like challenges, so to speak.
Yeah.
And opportunities
for sure. Yeah. And I like that you brought the honoring, going kind of way back in our conversation, honoring, the fact that your child, was going through puberty, and bringing some ceremony back and marking those little milestones so that it is maybe understood from the child's perspective that it's like a really special thing, and that they are making progress, and that it is to be something that they can even pat themselves on the back. I didn't realize that was the way that things went because I had a different experience, so I wasn't taught that. I was taught we don't talk about this stuff. We just don't even. Number one, I had an older sister, and she hadn't started. So I started well before her, and my mom did not want my sister, who was waiting on her period, we should come, But of course, mom was the word. Mom sees nothing. No. Did not talk about it. And it was a very, so changing perspectives on archaic behaviors towards periods and the way that we women go through life and stuff like that. I think we needed to go back, bring it all back, and celebrate it, because there's a lot of there could be a lot of embarrassing moments, but if a lot of us have, even our women selves, our girls, compassion, our friends, if we have a lot of compassion in our hearts for those somewhat times where maybe things are not the way that things were supposed to go down when we have our period, compassion. Do you know what I'm talking about, Vero?
Yeah.
Like, things don't always go down the way they should when we are going through our cycles. And it would be super, super awesome during those times that the people that are around us, this is when we need people the most, to be compassionate and loving towards the natural way of nature and our humanness. Mm-hmm. I put it out there because it's just one of those little facts, and I've seen it happen, and it's just perspective because we don't talk about things real openly, but we know things happen, and just kind of like maybe accepting it and then maybe being a bigger person about some of that, and bringing it down to the open. So, because it happens, So.
Yeah. And the only moment that truly matters is now. Mm-hmm. So no matter what we've done in our past or how we've handled situations in our past or how we handled our own monarch in our past, I was given a book. Mm-hmm. Here, read this, and I appreciate that. My mom was young and it was a tough conversation. So she just gave me, she just gave me a book, said, read this. And
now you're free.
Yeah. So, but it's important information, and it's really important to talk to girls right now as well, because the internet is a free for all. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are. If you put in certain search words, you're going to find things, and so
my brand name's Pussy Army, so I can relate.
Christina's fashion brand is Pussy Army. So, you can imagine what you find when you Google search for her fashion brand. So it's a fun thing. But but any 12-year-old can easily type in anything and get somewhere where they might not understand. So talking to kids about healthy relationships, healthy sexuality, healthy transfers in from puberty to adulthood, healthy first times, healthy all of this, just being open to discuss things with kids is huge, and it's interesting. I was a camp counselor at one point, and yeah, I was the horseback riding counselor at this wonderful little
Oh,
camp up in the Catskills called Camp Lakota, and it's a great place to send your kids. It's like Dirty Dancing, like for kids,
I've gone to camps. I was a
So,
junior counselor,
oh,
but
okay,
that
all
doesn't
right.
really qualify me as
Ah,
a counselor.
Well, hey, that's cool. That's a cool step.
Yeah.
But camp was awesome, and now I'm forgetting where I was
Sorry,
going
honey.
with that. Oh my gosh. So my point was I have no problem parenting other people's children, because once you've done it, it's like, okay, no problem. So now working in a mall, I get teenagers in often, and again, I have no problem parenting other people's children. If you drop them off at the mall and they come into my store and are, you know, respectful or disrespectful, I have no problem talking to them either way. And I had a group of boys come in, and they were young men. They were probably all about 17, but they were all young men. They could pass as adults,
Mm-hmm.
and
They had the beard
they were
in
all
high school and shaving.
yeah, exactly, and they came in, and the first thing they said, the leader of the group of boys said was, "Oh, where's the sex crystals?" Like, okay, so I know what I'm dealing with, right? So I calmly said,
I just got an
we
image.
we actually don't carry any of those. Although I do have stones for passion, like
Fine.
I started talking, and he was determined to be the class clown, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
of his group of boys. And finally, I just stopped them all. I said, I want to talk to you guys, and they're like, yes. I was like, I know that you're having fun and that this is a good time for you, but I want you to know who you are. You come across as men, a group of 5 men coming into my store, and your behavior and your language, honestly, it scares me. I'm it makes me afraid. And I want you to know this because I know you're young men, but you come across as men. And as a woman, you're making me afraid. And they all started to stand up straight. They're like, yes, ma'am.
Damn.
Oh,
Whoa.
And
Shicey,
yes,
wifey.
ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I was like, you guys are welcome here if you want to come in and learn or look at rocks or be respectful.
I am so proud of
But
you. I am so
I
proud
just
of
want you to know that that's how you're coming across.
Gosh, that's powerful.
And I don't think you want to come across that way if you as men. And it was a really powerful moment, I think, for both of us, honestly.
It was crazy, y'all. That is just insane powerfulness, right there.
But it, as a woman, as a goddess, as a crone, like, these young men are still children.
Yeah, they're learning.
They're still learning, and it's not my place to condemn them. It's actually my place to teach.
Yeah. Oh,
So like, if I can step up as a goddess in the community and teach these young men how to be better men,
mm-hmm.
then maybe I've done something good. You know what I mean?
That felt yummy in my heart. That felt so yummy in my heart.
And we all have opportunities like this that come up for us on the daily, like where we can have a choice to go one way or the other with something. And it's good to take a moment and be present and think about which way we want to go in every moment of every day.
Absolutely. Well, blessings to the children that they got to meet up with you, goddess. Can I tell you though, you're touching on things that I actually noted a little bit.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because I didn't want to. I have an evolving perspective about sexuality. Okay, because my life has evolved and my experiences have evolved. But one thing I do feel that is important to convey is how sacred it really is,
Mhm.
because what I have observed and what I even heard on the radio most recently was like a survey of people were asked their perspective, their view on sex.
Hmm.
And the commentary, the feedback was raunchy,
Mm.
like just kind of like exploited.
Mm.
Exploited in a there's sacredness and there's hedonism. There's two sides of the spectrum. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop to exist. But and I'm not saying that maybe hedonism isn't sacred, so I'm not trying to stigmatize that in that way. But there's just differences, And so there was like this. It was like this raunchy type, exploited, maybe even monetizing way, or more of an abusive way, or not honoring it, honoring our bodies, honoring the act, that kind
It
of thing.
sounds very disempowering.
Right. But what I have also heard is that a lot of sexual training comes from sources that have had their sexual training from pornography,
Mhm.
from Hustler magazine, from movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, those types of things. Even like going back, where sex was, really not honored. It was like this thing that you did to get it over with, or to try it for the first time, or do it in the back of somebody's car, or upstairs, necking or whatever, at a spin the bottle party.
Yeah, there was no connection to sex and true intimacy
Right.
in all of those films. I remember the big one in when I was like, I don't know, fourth grade, was sneaking over to a friend's house to watch Porky's.
Oh, right. And these things, I mean, it's been around for forever. And I think that's what young men are being taught. It's what young women are being taught. And when we look at like the pornographic industry, or even just like regular films, like I'm going to say Terminator, age me, but I don't know why that love scene comes to my mind the most, but the love scene does, where she makes the baby that's going to save the world from the Terminator. It's always the same thing, in the sheets, each other's hands, and all this. You know what I'm saying? There hasn't been much evolution, except maybe to get more explicit, or
Right.
you know what I mean. So, but that's where we learn our stuff. That's where we learn our sexual interactions and behaviors, and how we think we're supposed to respond to someone touching us this way, or how we should talk, or sound. All of these things come from movies. They're not coming from like the true place of where maybe sex came from.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. And we're just acting it out. We are acting out sex acts because that's what we've been able to view on television, or in books, even read it that way, So, yeah.
So moving from that place of lust and just repeat, raw repeat of what we imagine that kind of intimacy to be, based on what we've been taught by cinema, basically.
Yeah.
like moving past that to what is truly sacred, which is because there is sacred sex, there is sacred sex magic, there is
Mm-hmm.
there is intimacy that can be seen as a ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but all too often we don't see that.
Right.
We
There's a,
see. I mean, that is what the Kama Sutra is.
yeah, I think that's when you were kind of like talking right there. That's the thing that I can most closely relate to. That would be like a teaching,
Yeah.
that would give us some kind of like training.
But in people sexualize the Kama Sutra and try to put it into our current conception of sex from the movies and such. So they take the tenets of the Kama Sutra and like sort of rewrite it with almost porn in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing it instead of honoring the Kama Sutra as the sort of, it's a sort of a sexual meditation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So, and another thing I wrote down, I'm having a little flash, guys, so please forgive. I'm using these beautiful cards. Y'all, this is something else I wrote down because I've been, because I feel, I feel compelled to share with you some of my thoughts and some of the teachings that came to me. And that is that the Darwin's animal theory, okay, was misunderstood. Not because, and it was him, he misunderstood it and then taught it, like he didn't really fully realize it before it being rolled out, before it wasn't vetted. His theory was not vetted. We are the test subjects, is what I'm trying to say. We are Darwin's test subjects. It wasn't vetted before he rolled it out to us. So we should not necessarily just say, oh, well, survival for the fittest. That's what Darwin said. Theory of animal. No. So here it is. It was misunderstood only because sometimes that's just what we do. It's a first run. It's a first time. So we need time to have a second try at it or a second view at it. You know what I'm saying? Before it can be fully realized. Okay. And fully understood, like comprehended, because we don't always get stuff right away. On the surface level, we might, but there might be deeper understandings. So you have to be a little patient sometimes before you just dive right in and draw conclusions. But it seems as if that it appeared to be dominated only by physical prowess. Okay. Without factoring in divine feminine powers. And divine feminine powers are not like in that physical way. They're very thoughtful. They're very intuitive. They're very healing. Naturally, they're not very competitive. That's more of a masculine type energy, more supportive and naturally, and more mothering and nurturing, But the Darwin's theory didn't consider all of this. And so when you're thinking about what survival of the fittest is, you might think it is strictly from a physical perspective, but it is so much more than that. So it is, ensuring that there's more of the feelings, that storm energy that you were touching on earlier is a natural component to the animal theories, because what the divine feminine energy has the capability of doing is taking out the animalistic energy that sits in our being, that's more instinctive and impulsive and wants to act without fully realizing or concluding for the highest good of all. But divine feminine energy, when that's introduced, it balances out that fire, that little instinct to, bring that more into focus. Bring that more on board, and you'll find more sacredness for sure, because that's just the way that divine feminine energy works.
Mm-hmm.
It recognizes all that's sacred. It just knows that everything is sacred. So it just honors a whole mess of sacred, honors everything, you know? So yeah, those were some things I wanted to touch on.
You brought up Darwin, and it reminds me of I recently saw Joe Rogan talk about the stoned ape theory. You know, so basically, there's a long story short, there's a jump between apes to humans in Darwin, in Darwinian theory, right? There's this serious, like, okay, we're here, and then suddenly we're here. So they're always looking for like the missing link, right? But there's a thought that
we know what that was, honey.
Well, there's a thought that some apes discovered mushrooms and like started eating a lot of mushrooms.
Oh, I think I did hear that there was mushroom. Maybe that was a catalyst for
because mushrooms do open the mind. You know, they do create like different synapses in our brains, and that could be a very quick evolution. So very possibly it could support Darwin's theory there of us advancing that crazy, like. But anyway, let's go ahead and do that second card pull. And this one, I'd like the focus of this card pull to be for everyone who's ever watching this now or on the replay. I'd like this really to be a pull for them, something that's going to move them forward in this week, you know, like something they can take with them. That's my intention for it. What do you think? That sounds good?
I love your intention.
Yeah, cool.
I'm not even going to try to step in. I'm going to let that be the intention.
Perfect. Oh, and I do have to say, I love your shirt. If you can't see it, it says Adam did it.
Adam did it.
This is a Pussy Army design that
stamped by me.
Yeah. And
kitty cat. I haven't stitched it yet.
Very cute.
Thanks.
But is that your kitty cat?
No, it can't be a little cloth that like a piece of fabric, and I
just like your kitty cat.
But, it does look well.
But yeah, so going with our whole conversation, Adam did it.
Adam did it.
Yeah.
3 simple words. And I think that you know what, when I think about like where things kind of, got a little off kilter, got a little imbalanced, is
funny.
Is maybe that whole story, and us believing in these stories that have been around for so long that kind of maybe even influence beyond what we even know.
Yeah, and having studied biblical translations, the story of Adam and Eve was not added until the 4th major translation of the Bible, which was the P translation, which also known as the priest translation. The priest did not think that women understand their place based on Genesis 1. So they wrote Genesis 2 and added it to the Bible. Yep.
I'm just saying, Adam,
just to clarify.
Adam did it. If a priest did that, then that's Adam still doing it, as far as I'm concerned. That's just Adam still doing what Adam did. Adam's always been doing what Adam's been doing. So please stop it. Please stop doing what you're doing, Adam.
Oh, that's a pretty
one. It is gorgeous. Number 39 for this angelic being. I got the
this is the Guardian Angel Oracle deck. Who's this by?
Huge. That's Delia.
Oh, Delia Ciccarelli. Yeah, this one, we've seen this one before. I love this deck. Really awesome.
Maybe last time we chatted, and I did that on purpose. I brought it out again on purpose. Okay. All right, all you divine beings out there, I just want you to know who this little angel is that you're looking at on that card there. It is Reheha. It's the forgiving God. And I do. I forgive. I forgive you, Adam.
Gotta forgive. Forgiveness is everything.
That's the divine energy that we all happen to possess, forgiveness, the ability to forgive. That's an energy that we don't have to, maybe sometimes we're not totally ready to forgive, but it's always available for us. That energy is always available for us to tap into. So,
and forgiveness does nothing for the person you're forgiving. Forgiveness only affects you.
Definitely helps, that's for sure. Word up. Okay. So this angelic being Rehaha is part of the zodiac sign that is in Libra, and the powers of it's the powers of the angelic choir, or the angelic choir's powers category, or something. About angels, but okay. And then associations and qualities are healing mental illness, depression and distress, protection from danger, friendship, loyalty and love, great sensitivity, humility, listening to others, fatherly love, obedience and respect, and regeneration. Regeneration. And you want to know something that's funny, because I'm a number girl. I like numbers. Okay, so the card number's 39, and it lands on page 93. So it's a mirrored number for it. I mistrust of superiors too. This is a really interesting card. I'm kind of trying to understand a little bit how, I guess, if you are a forgiving God, and we all have that tendency, and we all can be that, then these beautiful things that I've listed out for you, your healing of mental illness or depression and distress, protection from danger, humility, listening to others, trust of superiors, fatherly love. I have to try. This seems like such a masculine card to me too.
Well, and we don't know who it's for.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I think it's totally right.
Can't make it all about personalized.
Yeah. So what I'm, the forgiving God and all of the things that you listed.
Yeah.
And there's something about the card pointing and holding the growing rose that's plucked in the left hand. So that receiving that nurturing, loving energy in the left, and sending it out to all through that finger in the right. I'm sorry, I'm stepping in on your territory, but
do it.
But I'm definitely seeing something in this card. I'm feeling that the forgiving God is reminding you to forgive yourself for all of the things, for the depression. Forgive yourself for the depression. Forgive yourself for maybe trusting superiors, maybe trusting people that we didn't later feel right to put your trust in. Forgive yourself for that.
Maybe you're the superior. You're the higher self.
Yeah.
And you didn't trust yourself.
Yeah. So forgive yourself and trust yourself. Yeah. Forgive yourself and move forward from all of the things. You have great power to take on forgiveness, and start by forgiving yourself, and move forward from forgiving yourself into forgiving others, because that just frees yourself.
It really does. Thank you, Vero.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm sorry, that one really talked to me.
Yeah, that's
totally
good.
Stepped on your toes.
No, you did not. You did not step on my toes at all. I welcome it, because you know what? There wasn't a whole lot of information coming through, so that you had such a wealth of knowledge is good.
Awesome.
It's good. I want everybody to get as much as they can from our conversations. Yeah. You are a well of knowledge. It's not one-sided.
Thank you, Goddess.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for always holding me up, and I hope that I can always hold you up the same way.
Oh, thank you. I haven't experienced anything otherwise. So
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's our podcast for today. Thank you for tuning in to Lighten Up. It's only light because it is. It's only light.
it is totally only light.
Yeah, it's all light.
It's all light. We're
all
only light. So yeah,
and please tune in every Tuesday at about 11 o'clock because we're not always on time, but about 11 o'clock every Tuesday we're here. All right.
Yeah. Thanks.
All
Have
right.
a beautiful day.
Thank you. Bye. Finish.
Awesome.